Hello, my name is Naomi Gallo, and today we will be presenting the Youth Climate Justice webinar of 2021. We will be focusing on multiple topics such as what climate justice is, climate issues in North Carolina, what being a youth climate activist is about, and how to take action. Climate justice is advocating for human rights and the connection between the current state of the world and how it affects the climate. The chat can be used to ask questions that will be addressed at the end of the seminar. All relevant links will be compiled into a link tree that will be shared during the Take Action portion of the seminar. Thank you for attending, and we hope you enjoy the presentation.
Summer ground rules. Mute your mic when you're not speaking. Raise your hand to speak and be respectful of other people's opinions. Find a quiet.
Hey Liz, sorry, it's really quiet audio. Can you come a little closer to the mic by any chance?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
A little bit, yeah. I think some of it might be the connection, but go ahead.
Mute your mic when you're not speaking. Raise your hand to speak and be respectful of other people's opinions. Find a quiet place. If you can, turn your camera on, participate, and have fun.
I'm Gabby, and I'll be talking about what climate justice actually means. So when you think about climate change, a lot of that is like fighting for the environment and for a healthier planet. But climate justice is a broader term that encapsulates an entire movement that climate change is a part of. So when you're thinking about climate justice, you want to take in aspects such as race, class, ability, and age. Because as the United Nations puts it, the impacts of climate change will not be borne equally or fairly between these different groups, which is why climate justice uses these acknowledgements and this differences in equity while forming solutions so that all groups who are disproportionately affected can receive justice. And that's what really puts the justice into climate justice as aside from just climate change. So as the Washington Post puts it, you can't build a just and equitable society on a planet that's been destabilized by human activities, nor can you stop the world from warming without the experience and the expertise of those most affected by it. That's why with the movement promoted by N.C. Warren, we're really taking the perspectives and the input of people who are more affected by this issue into consideration in when creating solutions and implementing such things. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and basically my topic is environmental racism, which is a form of systematic racism where people of color and low-income communities are disproportionately affected by the proximity of environmentally hazardous or degraded environments, such as sewage works, mines, landfills, power stations, major roads, and emitters of pollution. A study published in 2018 found those living in poverty were 35% more likely than average to be exposed to harmful pollutions. And when broken down by race, non-whites were 28% more likely, and specifically Blacks were 54% more likely than average to be exposed by pollution matter. Now that brings up the question, what causes environmental racism and what can it lead to? Well, ultimately, research has shown that if a corporation violates environmental laws, the corporation is going to be fined. The fines tend to be lower in communities of color, especially Black and poor communities. Lower fines equals more pollution, lower value of lands. Lower value of lands, even more lower fines, and the cycle continues. And there's also, a cause could also be a lack of diversity. If there is no representation in environmental groups or government sectors, nothing ever changes. And that brings us to process failure, which is when communities are deliberately kept out of the environmental decision-making process or environmental racist concerns aren't even brought up. This is also just ultimately the result of flat out racism. There are many factors that threaten the well-being of minority communities, such as discriminating policies and healthcare availabilities, but environmental discrimination is actually one of the main causes of mortalities for these residents. It can cause health problems due to exposure of different chemicals in the food, in the air or the food. It can negatively impact mental health. And environmental racism can keep residents from getting basic life necessities like food or water or even clean air to just breathe, or even basic outside amenities like trees and grass.
So hello, my name is Jaden Evans, and I have a video to show you about a brief history in climate justice where it shows how climate injustice, how like the history of environmental injustice, how it was being ignored.
Just let me know if the sound is not coming through, but it should. So just let me know if it doesn't.
Nationally, the facilities where we dump our garbage and process dangerous chemicals tend to be located in poor.
It'll take a moment to load.
The people who live there have little or no protection from the industries around them, and things could get worse. So there's this idea of environmental justice. It's pretty simple. Communities shouldn't be forced to deal with more pollution because they belong to a certain race, national origin, or income bracket. Yet America has struggled over the years to implement any serious policy that actually protects these communities. So let's lay out the ways the government has failed them.
We will not allow Warren County to become a dump site.
The fight for environmental justice took off in 1982, when residents of Warren County, North Carolina mounted mass demonstrations against a plan to dump contaminated soil in a landfill in their community. The EPA investigated 4 similar landfills in southern states and found that they were all located in Black or low-income neighborhoods. In 1987, the United Church of Christ Racial Justice Commission found that around the country, hazardous waste facilities were more likely to be located in mostly minority communities. Amid mounting proof, the federal government was forced to act.
George Herbert Walker Bush.
So in 1992, President George H.W. Bush founded the Office of Environmental Justice inside the EPA. 2 years later, President Bill Clinton signed an executive order requiring federal agencies to consider environmental justice in all of their policies, as well as extending civil rights protection to environmental discrimination. But Congress never passed a bill to make Clinton's executive order law. Then came George W. Bush. His administration shifted the focus of the Office of Environmental Justice from protecting low-income and minority communities to all people, leaving vulnerable populations without a federal environmental advocate.
80% of New Orleans, including much of downtown, is underwater.
Under Bush, many environmental civil rights claims were rejected or delayed for years. In 2009, after President Barack Obama's election, his administration recommitted to environmental justice.
Generally speaking, in this country, a lot of environmentally problematic facilities tend to be located in places where poor folks live.
Yet, during the 2 years Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House, they didn't file a single bill focused on strengthening environmental justice protections. Passing major environmental legislation faded further when Republicans took control of Congress in the 2010 midterm elections. Now, President Donald J. Trump is making good on his vow to weaken the EPA.
Environmental protection, what they do is a disgrace. Every week they come out with new regulations. They're making it
Who's
impossible.
going to protect the environment?
We'll be fine with the environment. We can leave a little bit.
This budget, a 31% cut to the EPA, $2.6 billion cut away from the EPA. That's what the president wants.
As the EPA loses funding and regulations are rolled back, vulnerable communities may very likely fall through the cracks. I'm Talia Buford. I'll be covering these communities and digging into systemic environmental injustice. If you have something to tell me, email me at talia.buford@propublica.org.
I'm very sorry. When you cutting away from a video can make it confusing on the PowerPoint. So one moment, please. Okay. Go back to. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. So now, Jaden, back to you.
So now what I want all of you to do is to type in the chat at least one thing that you learned from this video.
just an FYI, a couple people send me direct messages that go privately, and so then they don't get shared out to the group. So I'm receiving them privately. So one said that the Democrat administration and Congress passed zero legislation, and another was many presidents dropped the ball and made these issues worse. So just wanted to share those. Feel free to continue in the chat, but we're going to move to the next slide. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Atya, and we're going to continue with environmental justice history. The environmental justice movement was started by individuals, primarily people of color, who sought to address the inequity of environmental protection in their communities. The civil rights movement of 1960s sounded the alarm about the public health danger for their families, their communities, and themselves, which led to many conflicts between the government and civilians. A heating up planet has driven increase in wildfire area burned over the past few decades. Increasing heat, changing rain and snow pattern, shifts in the plant communities and other climate-related changes have increased the chance that fire will start more often and burn more intensely and widely than in the past. We really can't control fire, but we can stop burning or heating things without reason to stop or lessen these wildfires. Steps to stop the climate injustice. First, practice self-education, like do some research and learn about the policies designed to perpetuate those differences. Second, evaluate the voice of impacted communities. Support social justice advocates however you can. Third, hold your representatives accountable, like stay informed about local environmental issues and take action. Fourth, use the power of boycott. Before you buy or shop, investigate the environmental practices of corporation, and if possible, spend that dollar in the small companies rather than in the big. Thanks. Hope you learned something new.
Hello, my name is Charlotte, and I will be talking about hog farming in North Carolina and its effect on the climate and residents of North Carolina. North Carolina is one of the top 3 providers of pork to the United States. Hogs in North Carolina produce about 10 billion gallons of waste each year. The top 2 pictures on my slides are lagoons full of hog waste. This waste sits in these lagoons and then is sprayed onto fields so that nearby communities can smell the decomposition from the waste. Research has shown a correlation between air pollution from hog farms and higher rates of an increased blood pressure, respiratory issues, kidney disease, and overall diminished quality of life. In 2018, Hurricane Florence dumped a lot of rain on North Carolina. This flooded over 30 hog waste lagoons. Waste flooded out of these lagoons, contaminating local residents' drinking water and putting them all at risk. This happened in 2016 when Hurricane Harvey came through North Carolina as well. As the climate crisis increases the number and intensity of hurricanes, this could become a much more frequent occurrence. People are trying to come up with solutions for hog waste, but most create new problems of their own and are not economically feasible. One of these solutions is converting hog waste into biogas. Converting hog waste into biogas would require miles of pipeline to be laid and would only encourage the collection of hog waste into lagoons. The actual process of extracting methane from hog waste leaves ammonia behind, which would be left untreated and then sprayed onto fields next to these facilities. Biogas is just a non-solution that would hurt the environment and the people living near farms while large corporations make money off of it. While solutions for what to do with hog waste are at a standstill, the only solution that has no negative environmental impacts would be to end industrialized pig farming. It is hard to support industrialized animal farming while being environmentally conscious. However, this is controversial and doesn't seem to be happening soon. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Elise Schaub and I'll be talking about food insecurity. So the four pillars of food security are availability, access, utilization, and stability. So our vision as a group, we came up with food should be a universal right, but the disparity in food insecurity and nutrition continues to increase. We need campaigns that will aim to introduce initiatives that will provide healthy and balanced meals to people, especially students, statewide, regardless of their income or region. So I have this graph that compares Latinx households versus Latinx farm working households to all US households. People in rural areas may live long distances apart and not have access to transportation that would allow them to visit food banks, donation centers, or the food trucks that are set up. What you can do. Drought and conflict are the main factors that have exacerbated the problem of food production, distribution, and access. High rates of population growth and poverty have also played a part within an already difficult environment of fragile ecosystems. By reducing food waste and working to defeat climate change, these are 8 ways to help people who are food insecure. This link will be shared in the link tree at the end. I think you guys should really take a look. It's very easy to do in your community, and it's just helpful in fun, small ways. Thank you.
As a quick introduction, hi, my name's Amani and I use she, her pronouns. So Duke Energy is the only energy company that is available to most North Carolina residents, and thus they kind of control the way that energy is consumed and viewed, and this is why it's commonly labeled as an energy monopoly. And though climate change has arisen from a variety of factors, big corporations like Duke Energy should be held to blame. Because these companies are responsible for more than 70% of global emissions, they kind of cause a lot of our environmental issues. Currently, Duke Energy uses toxic natural gas energy sources, and they wish to expand their use while also discouraging cheaper renewable energy like solar and wind power. And between the attempts to build gas plants and pipelines in vulnerable communities, the persistent efforts to jack up the rates of monthly electricity bills, and the copious amounts of water and air pollution, Duke Energy heavily contributes to environmental injustice and harms marginalized communities. Despite its corruption, Duke Energy propagates the media with this notion of a clean energy revolution when gas is almost just as potent as any other fossil fuel. They also donate to a lot of social justice organizations to perpetuate this narrative that they are aware and woke, when in actuality they contribute to environmental racism. And they have the connections and power to sway legislators, so there needs to be a way to limit their power. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Ignacio, and I'm going to be talking about Energy Justice North Carolina, which is a coalition made of 14 nonprofit organizations such as NC Warren and Centers for Biological Diversity. Their work is mainly dedicated to ending the energy monopoly that Duke holds in North Carolina, which is making the climate crisis worse because of its continued use of fossil fuels to supply over 90% of North Carolina's energy. Duke's actions are only propelled by the contributions that they make to the campaigns of elected officials that advocate for Duke. So let's talk about why ending the monopoly is a priority. By ending the monopoly, a competitive market opens up, allowing different providers to offer lower prices, which gives consumers a choice. The coalition emphasizes collaboration among organizations that represent people of different ages, races, religions, and etc. To reach its goal, Energy Justice North Carolina has a petition for energy choice. Having only one provider makes consumers vulnerable to constant rate hikes whenever Duke decides to build a necessary power plant or fracked gas pipelines. These are unnecessary because Duke Energy already has dozens of plants that are not used to full capacity. The petition calls for ending the monopoly to transition to a competitive market that lowers prices and creates dozens of jobs. It calls for a transition to 100% renewable energy, which are necessary to protect the integrity of the lands, forests, and waters that are important assets to the communities across North Carolina. It calls for a pledge to refuse toxic money from Duke that influences elected officials. And finally, it calls for appointing utilities commissioners who will protect the people rather than corporate monopolies. Similar to Energy Justice North Carolina, Sunrise in North Carolina is a movement that actively protests Duke's Duke's energy monopoly and the corrupting influence that fossil fuel corporations have over elected officials. This movement is youth-led and holds both meetings and actions statewide. The actions focus on giving a voice to youth, people of color, and those of lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So it's definitely a great way for high schoolers and college students to get involved.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and I will be talking about renewable energy. So when shifting to renewable energy, there are tons of benefits when compared to fossil fuels. Fossil fuels release many harmful chemicals like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, methane, and many other gases that contribute to harmful effects for the environment and people's health. By removing these fossil fuels, we are able to make the air and environment better for everyone on our planet. Not only does this benefit the health of the people, animals, and plants, but it also helps us be more independent. This would give job opportunities, price stability in our electricity, more reliable on our own energy, being more reliable on our own energy, and it would be cost efficient. The price of running on renewable energy is half the price of running on fossil fuels and continues to be cheaper. The benefits of switching over to renewable energy are much greater than staying on fossil fuels, not just for us, but our entire planet. NC Warren has a plan called Green Path 2025. This plan allows us to reduce power produced by coal and natural gas by 57% by 2025, reducing greenhouse generation from electricity by 100% by 2030, and creating 16,000 jobs within 3 years, and much more. Moving forward with this plan is striving for a better earth and a better quality for everyone.
I worry Shrey might have dropped off. We've had a couple people, I think, having tech issues that dropped off. And I think that might have been, one moment. Let me just make sure there's no way to get her going. Okay, well, apologies for that. It's Zoom world, tech issues happen. So feel free to look at this slide. I'll try and get her on here before it ends, and maybe we can go back to it because she presented or prepared 2 really great slides here that talk about mental health impacts. I will give you a moment just to read it, and let me see if I can text her. Okay, I sent her a message and hopefully we can get her back on and then go back to it. So I will go to the next.
My name's Kate. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some policy in NC that's happening right now around climate change. So the first thing is HB 951. So about a month ago, the House GOP, Duke Energy, and a few stakeholders had like secret meetings to introduce this bill, which is known as the Duke Energy Ratepayer Ripoff Bill by some to the NC House. So these meetings, there was no Democrats or environmental advocates involved in the creation of this bill. And the top sponsors of this bill had a lot of donations coming in from Duke Energy themselves. So the energy bill would actually end up increasing consumer rates by up to 50% by 2035. And the bill mandates the construction of new fracked natural gas power plants. And it also undermines the ability of the NC Utilities Commission to do its job and regulate Duke Energy. So the bill just serves Duke Energy and their stakeholders. And however,
the bill could actually be voted on by the House as soon as today. So we have an action you can message and call your representatives to tell them to vote no on this bill. Will be presented at the end. So the second piece is called the Integrative Resource Plan. So what this is every 15 years, Duke Energy must, every 2 years, Duke Energy must submit a 15-year plan to the Utilities Commission. So, however, this was reviewed by engineer Bill Powers, and he found cost distortions and misleading reports about how much power was available. So Duke wants to build new gas infrastructure instead of prioritizing climate justice and renewable energy sources like solar. So local solar developers have developed Clean Path 2025, which reduces greenhouse gas emissions, which is an alternative path, reduces greenhouse gas emissions from electricity generation, and it provides advocates with an alternative method to advocate for it, because solar in the long term would be better for the environment and better for our economy and human health.
Hi everyone, my name is Shrinathi and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I will be telling you a bit about ways that youth can approach climate justice. So seeing the ongoing chaos in the climate justice world can definitely be daunting and put a lot of pressure on youth, making them feel as though they have to take action as soon as possible. However, a lot of youth end up experiencing feelings of powerlessness and confusion on how to begin. It's easy to feel like the people in power are out of reach because ultimately they are, but there are some ways that you can approach activism to minimize these feelings of helplessness. One strategy you can use is to find your reason why. The first step in your activism journey is to find a reason why, not necessarily a specific goal, but rather the driving reason that you're taking action and the thing that fires you up. Next, find your allies or people to join forces with. Finding fellow organizers and organizations to work with can provide you with opportunities, as well as help you learn more about the topic at hand. You can find these people through local events, newspapers, as well as online searches and social media. NC Warren is a great organization to get involved in to start. Last but not least, make sure you have a support system. Activism can be mentally draining work, and it's important to ensure that you have people to help you through the bumps that you will undeniably experience along the way. These people should provide trust and empathy while also holding you accountable for taking care of yourself. And going along with that, make sure to have fun and stay hopeful that you and those around you can make a change. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've got Shreya. Can you vocally confirm that that's true, and I'll go back to your slides?
Yeah, that is.
Okay, great, thanks. Let me just go back a couple. Oh, no, it's going the wrong way. There we go. Okay, great.
Yeah, sorry, give me a second.
No worries.
Hi, my name is Shreya, and I'll be talking about the drastic impacts of climate change that it has on our community and its citizens. Climate change is continuing to impact a lot of people, and it's causing a lot of people to experience a lot of eco-anxiety, which can cause impacts such as anxiety and a feeling of loss of like personal identity. We continue to see that disproportionately low-income communities, communities of color, and indigenous nations are being impacted by the effects of climate change. Youth are also being impacted, but by amplifying our voices, we have the ability to fight for this change. And then I'll also be talking about how human health is being impacted by the effects of climate change. So climate change can disproportionately impact people that are more poor or tend to be more sick. Due to extreme impacts of climate change, we have seen that certain areas of people are being impacted by the effects of climate change.
An example of the effects of climate change that impact human health is the increase in temperatures. Many times individuals are impacted by heat strokes, dehydration, or even severe influences that are causing damage to the cardiovascular or nervous system. Yeah, thank you.
Great. I'm so glad we were able to go back. Okay, now we'll go back to the other slides. Just one moment, folks.
Hello, my name is Daniel Gutierrez, and I am going to be talking about the youth activism burnout risk. When a youth volunteer steps into the bubble of climate activism or any activism, they are taking a big risk. All this activism can create an extreme sense of burnout in youth. This can end up affecting your state of energy, and it's key to combat that before it spirals out of control. Searching for healthy escapes is crucial. If you feel tired, take a break and time to recharge before you get back to work. Spend time delving into other hobbies and recharge by spending time with your friends and family. If you feel overwhelmed by thoughts of climate justice, even when you aren't working, try journaling or expressing your thoughts through any medium of your choice.
Hi, I'm Lauren Parsons, and my slide is on social media activism and virtual advocacy. Social media is a common means of communication, spreading your platform and forwarding events and information worldwide right at your fingertips. Hence why social media activism has been taking off in recent years. With bite-sized posts about big issues being reshared, it helps shed light on these issues and are creating an awareness to the common public people. So over on the side, I've shared a few posts that I've seen personally on Instagram that I've reshared to my personal story and everything. And some of these posts have even opened up for conversations with people about issues that they wouldn't have known about otherwise. And so by sharing bite-sized little posts, it helps spread awareness about bigger issues. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darren Wharton. I'll be talking about action steps. Sign up to join NC Warren, get involved in school environmental and social justice effort. Ask your friends and family to get involved and share these links to actions on social media. That way more schools around North Carolina can get involved and start having these conversations so that way the government can hear our voices. And this link will also be in the link tree. Sign the energy justice petition to help end the Duke monopoly. Duke Energy is harming communities, gouging customers, blocking the growth of cheaper solar system, wind power with storage, and making the climate crisis worse with its massive expansion. The Energy Justice Coalition is anchored by leaders from communities most impacted by Duke, coal ash, hot waste, biogas, and worsening hurricanes caused in parts by Duke's ongoing biogas or coal and fracked natural gas. Take action, speak up, sign the petition for energy choice in North Carolina. Join us, sign up for Energy Justice NC updates, and donate to help support this work. Send emails to Governor Cooper to declare a climate emergency and stop Duke's mass gas suspension. Quick facts, construction of the pipeline was delayed by the court challenges, yet Duke kept spending $20 million on the pipeline in anticipation of the project's reassumption. Total cost of NC customers could have risen to $20 billion. Duke and Dominion claimed the pipeline would bring new industry to countries all along the route, but analysts shows that this claim was false. Take action. Email Duke CEO Lynn Good, thank her for canceling the ACP and tell her no new gas. Call on Governor Cooper to stop Duke from building 50 new gas burning units. Help us continue our work, transition to clean energy future for NC, and this link will also be in the link tree.
So as I mentioned earlier, HB 951 is a dangerous bill that only benefits the utility. So what you can do if you go to the link that's I think being dropped in the chat right now, you can contact your representatives today and ask them to vote against it because this vote is going to be happening very soon and this is a really important bill. So we will, another action you can take is on July 31st in partnership with 0 Hour NC. We're going to have an action at the NC General Assembly. We're going to have an art build and a letter drafting to either the NC legislator or Governor Cooper to tell them to vote no to HB 951. And so that's at 9 a.m. And you can find the link to sign up for that and to get more information also at that link tree.
All right, wonderful job to all of our speakers. I did just put the link tree in the chat, and now if anyone has any questions or comments that they want to, go off mute or just put into the chat, or if you are involved in initiatives or anything coming up that you want to help promote on this webinar that has to do with climate justice in North Carolina, now's the time for that. But also let's give them a big round of applause. That was an awesome webinar, y'all. Really proud of you. And are there any questions or comments from folks? And for those who have not used Linktree before, it basically just keeps all of the links together in one, just one click. So when you click that Linktree, it'll have the different things that were referenced today in the presentation. Go ahead and stop share.
So Madeline, you asked for comments, and if I might, I would just want to give an appreciation for all the youth and your presentations and the way that you organize the slides and organize your information. And as someone who's, about to turn 65, it's so good to see that there's nothing to worry about in terms of the youth who are more than our future, but who are our now in terms of working to slow climate change, addressing environmental and climate justice issues. So if I had a hat on, I would take it off to you. And I just want to appreciate each of you. And then to Madeline and Kim, who are an intergenerational team, one 20-something, one 40-something. Thank you for providing leadership and getting out of your own way so that the young folk who are a part of this Climate Justice Youth Summer Series can shine. I see you and I appreciate each of you for this intensive few weeks of work that you have done and what you're taking away. So shout out to all of the young folk.
Thanks, Connie. And for any of y'all that don't know, that's my boss. So appreciate it.
And mine too.
All right. Well, awesome job, y'all. And for the folks that were the audience, if you end up having any questions, you can always reach out to me or Kim. And if you had a question for a specific student that presented, we could, pass that on. And we just have one wrap-up session tomorrow. We won't use the full time, and then we will have concluded the series. So it's been really great, and I hope that y'all learned a lot today and have a good rest of your evening.